Christmas, someone actually got me this, Yankee glove ornament thing there. I guess the Yankees got their catch this offseason with Soto. Anyway, only problem is like they extra left the price on, so $9.99. But see, it's one of the things. It's on the box, like you can't scratch it off. But it's kind of tacky to like put the price on the thing when you give someone a gift there. So, $10 there. It's a decent gift. Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees. Well, spring training games are underway, and good initial starts from both Carlos Rodon and Nestor Cortes. Again, two pitchers that the Yankees are going to rely on, needing a big bounce-back season after 2023 being harmed by really poor play as well as injuries there. So again, two good starts by them. We'll kind of dive into that deeper. And of course, maybe you like this, maybe you don't like this, but Commissioner Rob Manfred is going to step down at the end of the 2029 season there. So we'll kind of revisit Rob and see some of the changes he made in baseball and what effect he might have had. And again, this is a guy you don't like, not like. Again, a lot of drastic changes, during baseball during his time there. So kind of look back at all that and kind of dealing with the business side of baseball. Again, really the big story of the spring so far has been the baseball uniforms. And of course, you know the story about that with the kind of see-through pants there. Now players have some mixed, feelings about it, so we'll kind of revisit the whole thing, kind of get into it if you haven't heard the story. It's really been the big story of spring training so far this season. And of course, we'll revisit this for the millionth time. Blake Snell still floating around there as of now, still floating around there in the free agency world, same as Jordan Montgomery. We'll kind of look back at that. Looks like, there is still some talks between the Yankee camp as well as Snell's camp, and even Hal Steinbrenner is getting involved with it as well. So get into all that great stuff. Got a whole spring ahead of us, and of course, we'll get into the regular season before you know it. So make sure you subscribe to the podcast, so the audio version podcast of the show in its third season there. If you want to be a part of it, again, we had some big growth from season 1 to season 2. Listen, if you're there for season 2 to season 3, wherever you get your favorite podcast, whether you're a comic book fan or this podcast about other stuff or sports, look for Section 420 Talkin Yankees, find the podcast, subscribe, and of course on YouTube as well. If you're watching on YouTube, you should have done it already. Make sure to go down a little bit, scroll down a little bit, hit the subscribe button, or if you're just watching on TV, quickly go onto YouTube, Section 420 Talkin Yankees, subscribe. Bing! Now, Blake Snell, as we all know, is still floating around out there in free agency, as well as Jordan Montgomery. But part of the reason, again, that the Yankees have been a little hesitant of going after either one of those guys, mainly Blake Snell, is that they're kind of getting two pitchers back healthy coming to the season. That would be, of course, Carlos Rodon, who they gave a 6-year, $160 million contract to, and Nestor Cortes, who, again, he hasn't really gotten a big contract yet, but again, had a subpar 2023, again, marred with injury and bad play. It had the shoulder, the rotator cuff injury, which had to set him down a couple times until they just finally sat him down for the rest of the season. Now, getting these two lefties back is almost kind of puts the Yankees in a position where they're not desperate to get a Blake Snell, because to me, that's why I think they've been kind of really hovering around Snell, not really, giving into his demands of like a 7-year deal or something like that there. So now, again, this is just one start for each of them, so I'm not going to go crazy. But if you look at everything going into the season, and of course, we'll analyze their first starts of spring training for both Rodon and Nestor Cortes. I mean, it's almost better than the Yankees could have expected. And this is about to just go, turn back the clock a little bit. Last year's spring training, of course, Nestor Cortes, initially he was going to pitch for Team USA in the World Baseball Classic, but unfortunately he had to bow out because, again, he was bothered with the shoulder, as well as, remember how he left the mound in the 2022 playoffs game 4 against the Astros. He had to come off the field with a groin injury after giving up a big 3-run home run in that game after the Yankees went up big. So this guy was kind of banged up going into the season. But, Nestor Cortes, as I said, put that all in the past. He said the shoulder, the rotator cuff injury is behind him. So he's coming into this season healthier. Again, last spring training, he did not come to the season healthy. His spring training, not only he had to bow out from the World Baseball Classic, but he didn't have a normal spring training. They had to start him a little bit late, so he really didn't get his normal routine in there. And it's the whole season, you could just tell he wasn't right. He wasn't the same guy. And just got to the point by the midway point of the season, a little halfway over that, they just had to shut him down for the rest of the year. Now let's go reverse the clock also on Carlos Rodon. Signs a big contract to the Yankees, come in here. Now his first start against the Atlanta Braves absolutely got roasted, toasted, bombed. And then after that, he started experiencing forearm issue. Then we started to hear, because of the forearm issue, then they had the back issue. And then pretty much came to the point where entire first half of the season, he was completely shut down. And then when they did bring him in finally, like around July, he was terrible. He had maybe 2 decent starts. I think one against Houston down in Houston and one against Boston. Other than that, it was just trash pretty much. So the two of these guys need 2 big bounce back seasons. And again, I want to just look at their first starts, because Nestor Cortes against the Minnesota Twins and Carlos Rodon against the Toronto Blue Jays, and we'll just kind of analyze their lines there. Not that it means a lot, but the fact that they pitched well enough, they showed some good signs of this, and I'll point out the good signs of this, and again, complained of no injuries afterwards, especially Rodon. Again, Rodon had his 1 spring training starts last season, and then he needed to be shut down for a couple of months. So first we'll go to Rodon, since he was first against the Toronto Blue Jays, 2 2/3 innings, which is the same for both of them. Now, again, really spectacular line here. Just gave up 1 hit, 1 earned run on a home run. That's it. So, yeah, 1 bad pitch, whether it was on purpose or a mistake or not. But nevertheless, only one run off the home run. That's it. Other than that, pretty dominant stuff. 5 strikeouts. So 5 strikeouts in 2/3 innings, pretty good. Did have 2 walks. Okay, you like to see that. But overall, he averaged about 93 miles per hour on his fastball, and he did touch 95 once there. So, again, usually a lot of pitchers take them a while to get that fastball going a little bit, because, again, they don't want to overthrow too early in spring. But the fact that he was able to hit 95 this early on, again, I know, pretty much every guy hit like 97, 98 now. Yeah, but a lot of players like to work themselves up a little bit. So the fact that he's hitting that early on, this shows that this is probably the result of him showing up spring training early, again, losing a little bit of weight, putting in the early work, and now he looks like much better shape. Again, he dropped a few pounds, of course, and shaved the mustache, as we all know. Nestor Cortes, of course, keeping his mustache there. So, again, good start for Carlos Rodon. And again, this is kind of why, you think the Yankees are just kind of not too, quick to jump to grab at Blake Snell, because they kind of gave a similar contract to him a year ago. It's like, well, I'm paying this guy, let him work and do his thing instead of paying a whole new other guy who might even end up the same way. We don't even know that. Now let's get to Nestor Cortes and against the Minnesota Twins. Same amount of innings pitched, 2 2/3 inning. Now he got hit up a little bit more. That's he gave up 7 hits. It was like 7 hits in like 2 innings, not really good. 2 earned runs, but we like to see here 4 strikeouts and no walks. So he gave up a couple more hits than Rodon did, but overall, you like to see the 4 strikeouts there. And of course, more importantly, in his 48 pitches, came out feeling good, feeling healthy, and as he put it, put the rotated cuff injury from last season behind him, and he feels like he'll be healthy moving forward. And if the Yankees have these 2 guys pitching the way we know they can pitch, you add that with Garrett Cole, you figure more or less he's going to be a Cy Young candidate type anyway. I don't know if he's going to get the award in 2024, but you're going to get some good quality from him. And you got those 3 as your front 3 starters there. This is very good news with the Yankees, and with this offense, as you see, the first game, of course, with a couple of touchdowns and an extra point there. So if you get an offense like that rocking, when you get 3 pitches like that could be dominant, very good news for the Yankees. So let's get into those free agent pitchers that are still around. Now, Hal Steinbrenner gave a presser down there, basically kind of hinting that, we can never have enough pitching there. So kind of hinted that, he would be open to bringing more pitching in there. But again, this still seems that both parties apart, mainly with their probably main target, which would be Blake Snell or Jordan Montgomery. Now, you hear with Montgomery that he pretty much has a sight set on either returning to Texas or actually joining the Boston Red Sox. And supposedly, he actually has a winter home in Massachusetts with his wife there. So he seems more geared towards that. I guess see him going there more. Again, we see him grow out the red beard there when he was with the Rangers. So he'll probably fit perfectly there in that Red Sox clubhouse there. So I don't think the Yankees will look at Montgomery. Again, if they do make a move, might as well make it bigger. Probably, you would target Blake Snell. But again, are they going to be able to give him the years and or the money he wants? Now, it seems like the Yankees, if this was going to happen, are going to have to do something similar to what the Cubs did with Cody Bellinger. He ultimately returned to them for a 3-year deal worth $80 million. Now it's stacked per year, and he has an opt-out after year 1 or year 2. So it's a very player-friendly contract, but it's friendly on the team that it's only a 3-year commitment. So if the Yankees and Snell could come together on something, it's likely going to have to be that, where they offer him more per year, but on a short amount. Now, we kind of left off with the Yankee pretty much willing to go 5 years on him, but it seems like Snell wants 6 and or more, so that seems to be the gap there. So can both parties come together on a 4-year deal, but the Yankees load up the price per year? That's a possibility. That's what it's going to take. But the more this goes on, it just seems the more likely it's not going to happen. It's just kind of crazy. I can't really remember any situation like this where you have a National League Cy Young Award winner just floating out there that nobody wants to sign, or at least can't give him the deal that he likes. And you got to understand we're at the point of his life. This is where, it's probably his big moment to cash in, so to speak. So he probably wants to get the most lucrative deal possible. But again, no one seems to be that high on him to want to bring him in here. And you can just see how the Yankees are a little gun shy on it just because the way they got burnt a little bit last season with Carlos Rodon. Now, again, if Rodon could reverse that and have a good better year or two, then maybe in the future Yankees would feel a little bit more comfortable about a 6-year deal on somebody. But until then, you can understand why the Yankees feel a little bit hesitant there to pull the trigger. But nevertheless, Hal making that comment. Now, problem, the Yankees, they're already over the luxury tax. So the luxury tax is set at $297 million. The Yankees are at like the level 4 above that, which is at $303 million. So if they added like $30 million of payroll by signing Blake Snell, now the luxury tax is also going to go up there. So again, the Yankees kind of keep their eye on that as well. So just based on all that and the base that they signed Stroman, even though it's not a long-term commitment, I think the Yankees feel confident just going into the season without Blake Snell. Yes, it'd be nice to have him, but I don't think he's necessary. Now, if you had a situation where you had a major setback with Cortez and or Rodon, or both of them, then maybe you, out of desperation, you would kind of have to. But again, early on, if they seem okay and they seem healthy, you're not really forced to sign Snell. Or if you do, make him agree to your terms versus you bowing to him. And as long as this goes on, I just don't think they're going to do it. And the fact, would you want to Snell at this point? I mean, normally, as we all know, pitchers and catchers reported several weeks ago, get their work in, and now you start throwing spring training games. Well, Snell hasn't done any of that right now. I'm assuming, he's done his own workout regime at home and stuff like that, but it's not the same as, being with a club and facing live hitters and stuff like that. Well, now you have to build himself up. So even if you sign him a little late in spring training, he's not going to have a normal spring training, which means he may not have a normal start to the season. And it's kind of when you throw things really quick against the wall like that, injuries are abound because he's not stretched out properly. So even if you sign him, good chance he might even get hurt year one because he just hasn't had a normal spring training just because he's held up in free agency. So with that all in mind, it's really, you probably want to just look away from him. And if you're desperate for pitching in the middle of the season, there's always the trade market. And with all the hype of bringing in Juan Soto and some of this maybe small news, like, bringing like Verdugo and, of course, Trent Grisham coming in the Soto deal, kind of overlooked the spring training. And really before that has been Anthony Rizzo. The fact the Yankees going to get Anthony Rizzo back in a way. I know he was there for most of last season, but of course had the concussion, and afterwards this was not the same player at all. And just kind of look at the fact that, you're going to have a great lineup with like Judge and Soto and stuff like that, but also the fact that Rizzo is also going to be back. And seemingly right now he seems to be healthy, seems to be over the concussion issue he had last season. Said he was just cognitively slower last season just because, maybe it was hard for him, he said it was hard for him to like recognize pitches. So maybe, a fastball coming down the middle, maybe thought it was going to break, it didn't break, and vice versa. And if you want to just look at the numbers before and after the injury, it's just, very telling for him. So look at the 53 games before the injury. That was the collision at first base with Fernando Tatis Jr. He was hitting .304. Now, of course, start of the season, they got rid of the double shift. So, for left-handed hitters, traditionally we're getting, killed by that. If you're a Yankee fan, you know what it did to Mark Teixeira. Well, Rizzo was actually someone that's taken advantage of the shift no longer in play by hitting .304. He was pretty much the only Yankee hitting .300, 11 home runs, and an OPS of .880. Now, that's before the injury. After the injury, it's just Jekyll and Hyde. In 46 games, hit .172 compared to .304. Only one home run compared to the 11 he had before that, and OPS was about half at .496. So clearly, he was dealing with the concussion injury, and then this is kind of weird that it took him that long to realize that's what was wrong with him because, his numbers severely dipped there. But nevertheless, it feels much better now. He says he could see the ball like he used to be able to see it. So it's all good for the Yankees, and you have him in their lineup with Judge, Soto, and then again, look like Stanton, kind of his revamped little swing there, and of course dropped a few pounds, and of course DJ LeMahieu, Gleyber Torres. Now you have like 6 guys there at the top of the lineup, some serious guys there. We do some damage to the bats. Now Rizzo's 34 years old. He's not a young chicken, not really an old guy yet, and they have this season. Now there's an option for next year, so we'll see how this season goes there. But have Rizzo just for his defense as well. Now be a competent left-handed bat. Bounces the Yankee lineup, and now you get to the point where, years ago you complained that the Yankees were too right-handed. Well, maybe they'll be a little too left-handed, but traditionally for the Yankees, that's not really a problem. And again, it's just good to see Rizzo back. And for the shift and the pitch clock and all these little things that are mainly brought on by Rob Manfred, as I mentioned at the top, he will be stepping down in January of 2029 as commissioner. And this is going to be his 3rd term, so he took over for Bud Selig since 2015. There again, over the past couple of seasons, has thrown a lot of rules there that some fans like, some fans don't like, but there are some things that you just can't take away the fact that of course with the pitch clock there has shortened the length of these games, which is a little more appeasing to fans, mainly on watching whether on TV or in the stands there, have the games going quicker. In fact, I remember some of the Yankees games last season seemed like they were done by like 9:30. again, which is a little more fan friendly, especially early part of the season with April and May and June. You still have the kids in school and stuff like that, and you can't be at Yankee Stadium till 10:30 at night, and then driving back to Connecticut and Jersey, and the kids are passed out in the back of the car there, and then probably doing poorly in school the next day there. So whether you like it or don't like it, Manfred again been very instrumental for a lot of these rules, because the bigger bases, and now you hear about some stuff they're going to try out in the minors there with automatic umpires and strike zones like that there. So Rob Manfred definitely has put his stamp on the game of baseball. Again, whether you like it or not, but nevertheless, he will be stepping down again. He's in his third term, so he'll be finished out. And then he'll be done in January of 2029. Plus, 65 years old at that point, he'll probably closer to 70, and at some point you just want to retire there. So I think it's good. Now, if you want to look from 2022 into 2023, mainly because of the pitch clock, making the games quicker, baseball did say a 10% increase in attendance. The most latest World Baseball Classic, which was on the last offseason, was a huge success, got big ratings there. So overall, all the complaining you want to do about Rod Manfred, a couple of the rule changes I don't like. The one that really bothers me more is taking the bullpen reliever coming out and having to face a minimum of 3 batters, or making the last out there. That I don't like. Engineering how many batters a pitcher has to face, that part I don't like. Other stuff I kind of grown accustomed to it. Again, not a big. At first, I didn't think I loved the ghost front, but again, I came accustomed to it, so not terrible. And so Rob Manfred, whether you like him or not like him, after January 2029, you could go hate somebody else. And of course, we'll leave the juicy part of the episode, the part that you're dying to hear about, is all these new player uniforms. So basically, I'll give you the backstory of this whole thing. This is part of a 6-year project. These uniforms were designed by Nike and then manufactured by Fanatics. I guess that's the company that actually produces the uniforms. And the goal was kind of make them light, more player friendly, I guess more breathable, so forth. But again, kind of a mixed reviews on this. Not really mainly the top, but the bottom, the pants mainly, which are almost like translucid. So you can pretty much see through them and kind of see the players' underwear there. And some players just described it as look like they're wearing a diaper. So it's kind of a little weird like that. And, obviously when they're playing the game, obviously they have their cup on and stuff like that. So you're not going to see too much detail there. But supposedly there's been shots on, when you have media day, or, take pictures and autographs day, or do promo stuff for your TV show that carries your game stuff type stuff where you're not wearing the cup. There's been sightings of things. I haven't seen it, but supposedly, these pants are very translucent and you can see some details of things there. So it's been some mixed feelings on that. It's a little comedy there. Some players like it, some players don't like it. So mainly Mike Trout, he put out a tweet there. He loves the Yankees. He loves the new uniforms, and he's all for it, as well as. But you can take someone else like Kevin Kiermaier. He said that most players agree with him and not liking the uniforms, and they'd like to go back what they had last season. And there was even some people complaining that the uniforms now, the material of them are very this thinner and more cheaply put together compared to the last season there. So I don't know if there's something really baseball could do right now. It just seems like if they have these contracts with Nike and Fanatic, that's pretty much locked in. Again, I don't know if this is going to be for spring training, or maybe they're going to carry this over to the regular season. So remains to be seen. Also, some players complain about, doesn't really main with the Yankees because they don't have their names on the back, but both the names and the numbers for teams that have their names on the back. They also complain that the lettering is a little smaller, and they call it Bush League, kind of like the Long Island Ducks there a little bit. So it doesn't look like a professional major league uniform there. So that's really the background on that thing. So we'll just see what players do. I don't know. Maybe they'll wear some little heavier undergarments there just to cover themselves a little bit more. Again, it's not really something that makes sense. Really, something that'll bother you during the game because you have some extra protection under there. It's just when they're not playing a game and they're doing a media brief or something like that. That's where you kind of see things there. So that's the latest on these new snazzy uniforms. And sticking with the business side of baseball, the Yes Network announced that the second spring training game of the season, that was the Sunday game against the Toronto Blue Jays, the one I mentioned that Carlos Rendon started, and where Juan Soto hit his technically first Yankee home run, even though spring training, if you count that. But nevertheless, they announced that was their second highest streamed game ever in the history of, the Yes Network. Not only highest streamed, but also televised as well. So the second highest spring training game ratings they ever received. Now, why is that? Is it the case maybe because it's Sunday and there's, maybe people are just empty and void of not having football, so maybe at 1 o'clock they had appetite for something else and want to catch baseball. Could be that. Could be this the excitement of the spring training overall. Could be that, or just the excitement, as I mentioned before, Juan Soto being in the Yankee uniform. Just kind of wanted seeing that. So with all that in mind, though, Yes announced that game was their second highest rated spring training game ever, both on the app as well as on television. And I'll just kind of give you these numbers there, so if you want to see if you're impressed with that or not. So their peak audience was between 230 and 245. It was just a little under 250,000 people, so about 249,000 people were tuned in at that time. And compared the first streamed game last season compared to this game, a 50% higher audience. So it's probably the Juan Soto effect. And if I would think about anything, or maybe it's the fact that people just weren't really as high on the team last season, just because the way they got swept by the Houston Astros in the American League Championship there. And a couple of key players hurt coming into the season. They re-signed Judge, okay, they re-signed Rendon, okay, but it wasn't really excitable about the team. That maybe there's people are more excited about the team this season just because there's more new faces coming in, of course, with Stroman, Soto, Grisham, Verdugo, a little bit more excitement around this team. Some things that the Yankees said they're going to do a little bit better in terms of filtering their stats and playing a little bit more small ball. So again, this seems that fans overall seem more excitable about this team, and this results in the ratings. And if you combine the TV viewership as well as the streaming on the app, it's a total for that game, 43.5 million minutes consumed by consumers there. So everyone was just hot on this game for whatever reason. And just ironically, that's when Juan Soto, again, hit his first technically Yankee home run, an opposite field shot to left field. And, if you want to go back, what Soto said on his Zoom press conference is that, people ask about Yankee Stadium to the right field there in 314. We know the whole deal. But he said, no, he's not going to be tempted by it. He's going to still stick true to his form. Now, he's more of an opposite field hitter, and this home run he hit went to left field there. Took a ball outside and sent it over the left center field wall. So he said he's going to continue to do that. So for his first Yankee home run was true to that word. It feels like he's not going to be tempted by going for the short porch from right field, which is good news if he's going to stick to his form, because we can see a lot of players eye that end and obviously overswing or kind of roll over some balls and end up hitting a ground ball at second base there. And Soto, is getting back to Blake Snell. He's the one he's been championing. He said he would be a great addition there. Well, it's not his money, sure, bring them all in. But again, Soto and Snell were teammates last season. They both played in San Diego. He says he's a good guy. He's a good clubhouse guy there. So, Soto's obviously is pushing for him, but unfortunately, it's Steinbrenner's money. Well, even though he's a Met now, we still care about Luis Severino. Again, he came through the Yankee system. He was here for several seasons, so we wanted to keep an eye on him. Obviously now joining with the Mets, and he's growing out the beard a little bit. Now, there was actually a story about him in the Post that I found interesting. Of course, we he had a disastrous 2023, filled us with injuries and poor performance, and it seemed like it all might have been sleep related. Now, this kind of goes back to when he was still with the Yankees. He complained to one of the trainers there. They suggested that he should actually go see a sleep specialist. So his whole deal is that he would basically just lay in. He was one of those people maybe like you. And you can do this if you're watching the show, you have permission to do this. Laying in bed, watching TV, and you should be watching Section420 Talkin Yankees. But in general, he was like one of those people that lay in bed and so he could fall asleep. So, he would kind of doze off a little bit, and you doze on, and like that, and sleep. So you're not really getting good sleep. And he said he would get about maybe a little 5 hours, a little under 5 hours of sleep, and just his body just didn't feel good. So he wasn't really getting good sleep last season. And it maybe makes sense. It's, again, poor performance and a lot of injuries. So he did see the sleep specialist. So if you're one of these people out there who want to get some better sleep, you want to be more like Severino, a good Severino. So these are the things that actually been helping him out. So instead of watching the TV to doze off, he actually now puts on music, and it seems to make him go to sleep a little quicker. He says, once he hits the pillow, he goes off, maybe 10 to 15 minutes, he's ready to sleep. Me, my head hits the pillow, I could be up for the next 3 hours. So music instead of TV. Now he eats dinner now at 7:30. So I guess some other people, I'm not going to mention, eat 12 midnight, 1 in the morning. So you should eat at 7:30. And lastly, your room should be between 67 and 68 degrees, again, a little cool, where you want to get snuggled under the covers there. And now as a result of all this stuff, he said he sleeps much better now, gets near 7 hours of sleep compared to the 5 he was getting with the Yankees. And again, hopefully that keeps him. You still want to root for him, even though he's a Met. You don't want to get hurt like that. And again, it's only a 1-year deal with the Mets, so possibly always bring him back in the future. Again, you couldn't do it this season because last season, 19 appearances, he had an ERA 6.65, getting hurt all the time, and then he got to the point where he had to shut them all down. So let's see if he can sort of revamp his career with the Mets there. But again, it all could be sleep related. And staying in the world of beards, I mentioned Luis Severino grew out the beard. Well, in Yankee land, now he could do it because he's not a player. It seems like Michael Kay has been now growing out a beard this spring training. It actually caught the attention of Aaron Boone, who was taken off guard by it himself and actually broke, during a press conference just to point that out there. So, it's kind of a different look for him, interesting look. We've seen Kay, obviously from a couple of years ago, slim down, lost a lot of weight. And I guess maybe wants to change up the look a little bit. Again, we don't know if he's going to carry this into the season there. But nevertheless, if you're flipping through the channels there, you're not in the Twilight Zone. That is Michael Kay. He just has a beard now. Now, last episode here, if you watch on YouTube or on TV, I kind of previewed Spencer Jones. I mentioned that he's probably one of the names you're going to hear about during spring training, and has made an impact early on at least. Initially going 5 for 5, including a 470-foot bomb in one of the games that caught a lot of people's attention. So again, as mentioned, that something could be potentially special about him, and that's why you mentioned. I said before his name was kind of linked to a few trades, mainly the Corbin Burns one, as well as the original negotiations to get Juan Soto in here. And I guess the Yankees wanted to keep on to him, and you kind of want to see why they did it. Now, a couple games later, had a little problems out there in the outfield a little bit. So again, it's a little rough around the edges, maybe a little work out there. But at least offensively, you can see why the Yankees like his bat. Again, they call him kind of the left-handed Aaron Judge. Not as much power, but pretty close. And 470 feet for a bomb is not too bad. And if you're a Yankee fan and you never made that road trip out to Oakland to see the Yankees play against the Oakland A's, well, this will be the final season of the Oakland Coliseum. After that, no one has a clue where the Oakland A's are going to play. So between 2025 and 2027, there's no really designated area for them to play in, so it could be like maybe a local Little League field maybe, or some college nearby. No one knows where the Oakland A's are going to play there. So again, if you're a Yankee fan, never made that trip, you want to do it. There's a lot of back and forth. Of course, Reggie Jackson played for both the Yankees and Oakland, so there's a little linkage there. Even like someone like Ricky Henderson, again, both played for both the Oakland A's and the Yankees there. So if you want to feel some of that nostalgia as well as experience a baseball game in perhaps the worst stadium possible. But of course, I think we have to give that one to Tampa there. I think they still have the title there, but Oakland's definitely number 2. This will be the final season. And of course, after 2027, I guess they're going to build a new stadium for them in Las Vegas. And it's just kind of funny enough. Remember years ago, they said, oh, you can't have a professional sports team in Vegas because you have gambling and all this other stuff like that, and players are going to be tempted to throw games, stuff like that. But of course, once you got like DraftKings and FanDuel, all this stuff getting involved in all these leagues and all these different sports, now everyone's allowed to gamble and everyone's allowed to have a team there. So it could start off with the hockey team, the Knights, then eventually got the Las Vegas Raiders, and now you'll have, I guess, I don't know what they're going to call themselves, but the Oakland A's franchise will be in Vegas as well. So from years ago where you couldn't even discuss a professional sports team in there before you can blink once these sponsors got in there, now you have all 3 teams are going to be in there. But nevertheless, let's take a step back there. Again, we just still don't know between 2025 and 2027 where the Oakland A's going to play. Now, the Yankees had a similar problem when they renovated the Yankees. Well, people don't call it the original Yankee Stadium; they call it the Middle Yankee Stadium. That was between 1974 and 1975. The Yankees were able to play in Shea Stadium. It was kind of easy. So for the Oakland A's, I don't know. Maybe they'll split some time with the Giants, go up there. Who knows? But if you're the Yankee fan, you want to see the Oakland Coliseum, you want to see a terrible baseball stadium for the last time, 2024 is your last opportunity. So far, so good with Yankees in spring training games, again, avoiding any big injuries. Here, a little knick-knack stuff with, Trevino dealing with a calf issue, and, of course, Peraza with a little bit of a shoulder issue, but nothing major. That's probably more precautionary. The main part is, no major injuries, such as, again, last season with Carlos Rodon, after his first spring training start, needing pretty much be shut down for half the season. So the Yankees be able to avoid that so far. So all good news there. Good first start to the season for both Nestor Cortes and Rodon, as I highlighted early in the episode, and good getting the Yankees also get a boost to the lineup with a healthy Anthony Rizzo back in the Yankee uniform. They're playing games again, seeing the ball much better and get over all those concussion issues there. And there's just another big bat. You kind of think it's almost like making a move, like picking up a free agent by getting Rizzo back in the lineup. Makes the Yankee offense look that much better. And of course, you look at Blake Snell still floating around there. Is he going to be a Yankee? Is he not going to be a Yankee? Most likely not. But again, if he doesn't end up joining the Yankees, it's no big deal. I think as long as Nestor and Rodon are healthy, they could just go to war what they have right now. Shouldn't be a problem. The lineup should be much better. Again, the lineup last season was almost second to last in the league, to those terrible Oakland A's. So that should tell you all you need to know. Lineup should be much better. Basically, we've seen on the early returns with Soto in that lineup there. Only thing the Yankees haven't really improved much was the bullpen. But again, you can get it that I could go start the season with Holmes in the close and kind of take it from there. So that's the episode. Hope you like it. I'm not sure if you want to buy one of those new jerseys for your favorite team, but hey, maybe you want to wear the pants. Maybe you can start a fashion trend.